really miss painting. I can't tell you how much. Oh, I mean, I spent 3 weeks staining a huge dining room suite that they needed sanded and stained. It's very hot in here, so. And I love painting better than staining, I have to say, after doing that big project. It was a big, big project, but it looks really nice, and I'll have pictures up as soon as I can get back to the person's house that we did it for and take some pictures in their dining room. So, but I was really happy with it. It's a lot of work restaining something, I have to say, and I really missed color. Like, I think that's why I like painting so much, is because I can add color, I can add interest to a piece. It's much nicer, I think. But anyway, so we're going to start on this little bedroom set. She uses 2 of the dressers in her existing bedroom, and then she has a little antique vanity with a mirror that matches that she doesn't use, and she has a double headboard that we're going to paint. So we're going to paint the vanity and the headboard, and she's going to sell those. And then we're painting this dresser and her other, it's a little bit wider than this one, but it has a nice mirror, so we're going to paint that one. And on these, we're going to strip down the top, stain it a lighter color, paint the body of it in raw silk, which is a fusion mineral paint color. Then we're going to do a little bit of glazing, I believe. Sometimes I change my mind as I get to things, but it'll either be glazing or dark waxing on some of the details on this top drawer. And I'll turn these other lights on in a minute. It's just so bright when I look at the camera. And then I ordered what's called a rub-on transfer, which is a really pretty picture that is placed onto the piece after it's painted, and it's rubbed on literally with a little spatula. So, and they're just beautiful. I love them. So I ordered one that's absolutely gorgeous, so you don't get to see it until we do it, so you'll have to stay tuned and follow along with this. It'll be over definitely many sessions, because each piece has its own, you know, little problems and things to do. So I'm just going to show you though, in choosing the color for the stain on the top, because right now, if you can see, this is really dark. It's all kind of discolored from over time, and part of it might be that this is pieced together wood. Like, people say, oh, well, it's solid wood. Well, it's actually pieced together solid wood. It might be solid wood in an old piece, but they're pieces of boards that are stuck together, and they're glued together, or they use biscuits, or they use little dowels or something back in the day to stick them together. So I think this looks like it might be one piece, although I'm kind of guessing it's 2. And it's just got so many variations in color. They're all really dark and old, because that's like many, many, many years of probably oils and waxes and things like that. And over time, it sort of discolors the piece. So the knobs on it, I'll bring you in a little bit closer. The knobs on it are actually pretty. I really like them. Is it focusing there? Hopefully, yeah. They're really pretty. They're very unique. So I'm going to leave those, and I'm going to just polish them up with some Brasso or something. These look a little discolored to me, and I think they're brass, but I'll try and use some Brasso to kind of polish them up. But you can see the discoloration here, right? And this is a really nice little carved out piece here. We're going to use some glaze on that to accent it, and then the transfer will go on the bottom here. So it'll be really cute when it's done. This used to be her mother's set, and she's very fond of it. So we don't want to sell it, or she doesn't want to sell it. So today we're going to show you what color, and then I'm going to strip the top of it, and I'm going to use wood conditioner just to prepare the wood for the stain, and we're probably going to have time to stain it. I don't know if we'll get time to prep the rest of the piece, but we'll try. I'll probably be on about 45 minutes, so bear with me. And if you're watching this later, thank you. Make sure you share with your friends if you want to watch this series. And also, you can find us on YouTube at Flandrens Interiors, and we'd appreciate your subscribing there too. On those videos, I'll be compiling you know, a little bit more information with the actual videos as well. So this is the color. So when you choose colors, right, I often see people who do pieces and they style them, and these are furniture painters, and they'll style them and the furniture colors don't exactly go with the room because they haven't considered the wall color, the floor color, the carpet color, the, you know, their art, all those sorts of things. But when you do a piece and you're keeping it for yourself, consider the colors of your existing walls and any major pieces, your bedspread, anything like that that you have in your house. If it's your living room, it would be your area rug or your wall or piece of art or something. So this is the color of her bedroom walls. It is called Frosted Berry, and it's a really pretty mauvey pink. It's a Benjamin Moore color that came out. So now when I go to stain this, I have to choose a stain that I think will go with this wall color. So her wall color is Frosted Berry. She has, all her door frames are white. So we've got this in white going on, which is pretty stark colors. Then if we put a stain color with it that doesn't really look right, it's just gonna throw everything off in the room. So this is what I mean about color. You have to really consider everything that goes into it. So I did 4 color swatches, and you can see it goes from a very orangey yellow to a bit of a more natural wood color to a little bit more of a chocolate color, and then this is a darker chocolate, and then this is, if you did, it's called an opaque color, where you just left the stain on, a gel stain, and let it harden like that. Of these, okay, so I think that's too harsh, and that's what I see a lot of, is people doing stuff like this, and it just looks so harsh in the room, but it's really important to consider. So that I think is too harsh. The next one up here, I still think it's a bit too harsh. It's a very delicate room. She's got a lot of very delicate pieces and a little bit of Art Deco stuff going on in there. So I think that's still too dark. And that is Kona. No, that's Dark Walnut. This is Kona. So now we're kind of getting into the range of where I think it might look nice on the top of that dresser. And then this is a color called Ipswich Pine, and it's also a Varathane gel stain. And then this is another color, and I think personally this one, which is, I forget the name of it, it's some pine, I think this one is way too orange. And that's the thing when you're buying stain, is to watch for the undertone, because they're you know, often, most of the times, they're red, orange, or dark brown. So of them, I am sort of leaning to this one. So I think that's the colors we'll use. So this will be the stain, and this will be her wall color. So I think we're good if we do that. So that's the plan. And like I said, everything can change on a dime. Sometimes when you get going, it's just little, you have to just roll a thing. So to do the paint stripping, you need a, this is just a little chip brush. And if you've never done paint stripping before, you don't have to be afraid of it, but you do have to be safe. So when you do paint stripping, you need to get a pair of these gloves. These are for doing paint stripping and dealing with harsher chemicals. They're about $4 at the store. These are not your average household cleaning gloves. These are for use with chemicals. So get a pair of these. If you tried to use these type of gloves, which are the nitro gloves that a lot of people, I use these for sanding and painting and stuff. The paint stripper will eat right through these and burn to your skin, and it happens quite quickly. So don't use those. Use these. I also have a pair of safety glasses because, as I've said before in a video, I didn't used to use them, and one time I got some stripper splashed right up in here under my glasses, and I just thought, I better be smarter than I am, because I'm going to lose my eyesight if I get that stuck. This paint stripper burns really easily. So safety glasses, and you only have to wear them for a minute. And then I probably won't be today because I'll be talking, but I just used just an ordinary little paint mask. They're really inexpensive. You can get a bundle of them for like $5 at the store, just to keep the fumes down a little bit. And some paint strippers are really low fume, which is a really nice one to get. I like this paint stripper. This is from Home Depot, and it's Heirloom Plus. And the Plus is important because there's another one that's just the regular Heirloom, but this is their heavy duty version of paint stripper. I've used the Citrus Strip. I've used a few different types. I like Circa 1850. I like that one a lot. And I really like this Heirloom Plus because it does the job and it gets it done really quickly and really nicely. So Heirloom Plus, they're like $6 a tin at the store, and you could do a lot of paint stripping with this. If you're doing a big piece, you'd probably go through 1 can or almost 1 can. We'll use that. This is the gel stain I'm going to use, which is the Ipswich Pine. That's the one we chose to go with that pinky mauve color. And this is all stuff. So to get the paint stripper off after, use a wide or fairly wide spatula. Be really careful when you're scraping it off not to get these sharp edges into the wood, because then you've gouged the wood and then you have to do a lot of sanding. So just, you know, I've even rounded these off a little bit. They could probably be a little bit more. Some people round these right off and take the sharpness away, which is a good idea too. A little bit of, I think this is 3-up steel wool, and we'll use that to get the final junk off after we do the paint stripping. And then you want an old tin like this, because we're going to put all of the paper towel junk. This is a coffee tin. Still coffee in there. We're going to put the junk paper towel from the paint stripper in there. So that's what we need. And I've got some mineral spirits to, once you use the paint stripper and you get the gunk off your piece, you have to either neutralize the paint stripper with mineral spirits or soapy water. A little bit of soapy water, or even I guess plain water would work. It does kind of burn the wood afterwards if you don't do that. So just be warned. After you get this all off, you do need to just take a sanding pad and sand the top of your wood once it's stripped and the mineral spirits have dried the wood. Then you need to smooth it down, right? And then it's ready for staining after that. To clean the rest of the piece, you have to use a solution. You can use Crud Cutter, you can use Dawn dish soap, you can use, what's the name of that one? Oh, everybody buys, I forget the name of it. It's a really old one. But anything that cuts grease. So there's a lot of Zepp products that cut grease. I use Fusion Mineral Paints TSP and I mix it up. It's 2 capfuls per liter of water. So I mix it up in one of these so I can spray it all over. I like theirs because you don't have to rinse it with water afterwards. The other TSPs you do. But you can get TSP in any hardware store really expensively, but I like the Fusion one. You need a little bit of sandpaper and a lot of paper towel. So that's where we'll start. And I'm kind of moving along a little bit quickly today, but it's pretty basic. So I'm going to turn my other overhead light on so you can see this piece a little bit better. And I'll have my back to you a little bit. And I'm going to pull this piece out. So from here on in, you probably won't see me much. You'll be seeing the back side of me. I apologize in advance. Okay, so I'm going to pull this away from the wall so I don't get my... Fortunately, it's on wheels, which is lovely. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. It is so hot here. I mean, it is stinking hot. And I don't do well in the heat at all. I have no thyroid left what to speak of. So I roast. And I get so hot in this garage that There, I'm hoping you can see. Okay, we might need to put another light on here. Let me just move my other light up a bit. And we'll get started. That might be a bit better. Move it in a bit. Okay, so what you want with this is you want your safety glasses. You want to cover your arms, so I'm going to put on a little jacket temporarily. I'm going to put on some shoes instead of my flip-flops, because if you spill over the edge, and it does happen, sometimes it's just a splash, you spill over the edge onto your feet, I mean, it will burn. It will burn any bit of your skin. So if you do get a burn with paint stripper, go wash with cold water immediately, and that should just stop the burning. So I'm putting on a jacket because I don't want to get splashes on the arms, although my arms are a little bit, tiny bit sunburnt from the sun. Okay, so glasses go on here. See, I do have them on. Okay, so this is what we do. You don't need to shake this. Be prepared with your paper towel and your tin right away, because you're going to need it right away. So I have my paper towel, my tin, I have my glove. Now let's see if you can get the best angle here. Okay. So all you do, you don't need to prep this at all, because you don't need to clean it, because the paint stripper is your cleaner in this case. It's going to just eat everything off. So just dump a bit on. This stuff is really not that smelly, so it's nice, but you should open your garage door, whatever you're working in. I can't right now because we've got great big pieces of equipment working around the yard, building a whole unit of condos next door. So, and I'm doing the top first. They always say top down, because if I painted this and got it all beautiful the way I want it down here, and then I did this paint stripper, chances are I'm going to drip paint stripper over the edge, because I have to clean this edge off, right? And if you've gone and done your bottom side first, and then you go to strip this, chances are you're going to make a bit of a mess. Now this is already starting to peel. What it does is it bubbles, that burns into the paint or stain or whatever you have, and it starts to eat away at it. And you know it's working if it starts to bubble, and I'll show you that in a second here. And oftentimes you do have to do a couple of coats of this. I love this plus though, the Heirloom Plus. So this is bubbling up beautifully. It's just gorgeous. It's a funny thing to say, gorgeous, but it is. I like it. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like here. Oops, sorry. This is what it does. So it bubbles up like that. You can see that. And that's how you tell it's working. You want a really nice thick coat of paint stripper on there. If you have a really, really thin coat, it's not going to stay wet, and it's really not going to be very effective at all. So it says on the can to do about 10 or 15 minutes, so I'm just going to give it a few more minutes here. Now if I wasn't on camera, I'd probably be taking all the door handles off while this was working. There's always things you can do to multitask a little bit. So I'm going to take this off in a minute, and then what I've got to do is probably do one more coat of paint stripper. So it's not usually going to come off in the first coat. It's usually going to come off in 2 coats, and then possibly a little bit more with a piece of steel wool or something like that. So all you do is you take your tin, brush there, take your tin and scooch everything to one side. So you see how gooky that is? The wood underneath is gorgeous, I have to say. I think it's walnut. I'd have to double check the grain afterwards and just see. But if you just scooch it all to one end, like so, it comes off fairly well, and it's coming off really nicely with just this one coat. So I think we'll just use a second tidy up coat and then we should be done with it. That's beautiful wood. I actually really like, the reveal of what is actually underneath. You look at these old pieces and they look like hell, as some people would say, and you think that that's, you know, what they're supposed to look like, but you don't realize that it's just from years and years and years of old, gooky wax and old varnish. This is wax and old varnish. So if you get it to this end, you can pretty much group it to one side, dump it into your tin. I call this a paint stripper toilet. That's what I call it. Dump it into the tin. At this point, it doesn't matter if you go across the grain. With sanding, you always go with the grain, but with paint stripping, you can go across the grain. But just be careful you do not scratch the wood with these sharp edges, because these are really sharp. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit more here. No, see that area there over here has it's obviously a spot where I haven't put enough stripper on and it's not even budging. So now you can start to see how pretty this wood is. It's starting to come alive a little bit. I'm gonna go in here and get this. I'll show you how to clean this up. So we'll dump that. So this is it after one thing of paint stripper. That's what it looks like. It's still got paint stripper all over it and it's kind of messy. So we're gonna go in with another batch of paint stripper. It's not gonna take much actually, but we'll make sure it's done properly. I mostly have to get the edges and a little bit on the actual tabletop itself, so I'll be a little bit more selective where I put it this time. And in here. So that's not much. That's about a cup of paint stripper for this whole piece so far. And I don't think we'll be using more than that. And just smear it around, paint it on namby-pamby. It doesn't have to be any particular way. But I really want to get these edges this time. I do have a bit of paper on the floor, but I think I need to put a bit more down here. Always a good idea because it does drip on your floor, but if you're in a garage like I am, you don't have to worry about it too much. Okay, so it's starting to really drip on the floor. Yuck. Doesn't look very appetizing, does it? So this is what I mean. You could slop this stuff all over and it's very easy to slop it over the edge when you get working with it. So that's why you start at the top, do all the dirty work at the top before you do all the nice work at the bottom with your painting. Okay. That is that. I'm going to wipe some of this stuff up. I don't really need it there. You see how that wipes it off even there. Okay. A little bit on the floor. Not too bad. And I can hardly wait to get this jacket off because it is hot in here. I'll tell you that much right now. Okay. Ugh. I mean, look at that, hey? Gross. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll take our paint scraper. So this run is getting all of the last bits of it off. And what I'm going to do is try this back piece here. And it's coming off nicely now. So I'll just keep working it off. I really want to show you guys this because I know that so many people are petrified of paint stripper. But it really is the very best way to get a nice clean stain look on your... I mean, you can sand this all down, but you're never going to get this beautiful pure stain or a pure wood grain look from sanding. Or if you do, it'll take a lot of sanding, and a lot of times these pieces are veneer. I think this one is solid wood, but a lot of them are just veneer on the top. So if you do a lot of sanding on them, you're really risking sanding the veneer right off, which is not what you want to do. So if it's a really nice piece of wood like this, I just like to take it and do it like this because it's much easier, much faster, and much cleaner. Well, not cleaner doing it, but it's a much cleaner finish. Okay, so I'm going to get a paper towel and wipe that. I use a lot of paper towels, so always be prepared with it because you're going to use a ton. Okay, so I'm going to go around the edges with my paper towel. It's getting most of it off just with the paper towel, but there's one more step to this that we have to do. And it will get the very, 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 very last bit of junk off. So there we go, more paper towel. I really love a piece, an old piece that's finished with a little bit of stain and a little bit of paint. I just think it makes it look so rustic. I'm not really one for pieces being 100% painted. But some pieces need to be 100% painted because they might be really damaged and you can't stain any of it. And other pieces are, it's just the look you're going for, right? So I'll show you what this looks like. And this is important to note because you might think you've done something wrong at this point. This is what it looks like with the stain stripper. So you can see I've got smears here, smears there. It looks horrible. So we have the worst of it off. Sorry. I can now take this heavy jacket off, which is sweltering hot, and I can take my glasses off. Okay. All right. Take my safety glasses off. So what I'm going to do is put on just an ordinary little glove, one of these nitro gloves, and I'm going to get my, wherever it is, my piece of steel wool. So the finest steel wool, when you go to buy it, it says 0000. It's called 4/0 steel wool. It's called super fine. That's a finishing steel wool. So if I had this all done and I wanted to finish the poly on it or something, I would take the 4/0 and I would rub it in and use wax, etc., etc. This is a 3/0, and I don't know if you can see the roughness of it, but it's still considered a fine one. There's 2/0 and 1/0, and I think 0. Yeah. Each one is a little bit rougher or coarser steel wool. But this is what I'm using, 3/0, because what I'm going to do now is take some mineral spirits, and remember the mineral spirits will stop this stuff from burning. I'm just going to pour a little bit of it on here, and I'm going to rub it with my steel wool. So what this is doing is it's cleaning the piece, it's sanding it, and at the very, very same time, it's getting the last of that residue off. And you want to go with the grain, put a little bit more on. You can do it like this, but I just dump it on. I'm a little bit of a dumper. And this is deactivating this paint stripper. So anywhere I see a little bit of the paint stripper stuck on, I'm going to give it a little bit more of a rub down here. So this is one way of doing your final sanding on it at the same time that you deactivate your paint stripper. It works really well. And there's a little bit more over here. It's really great for going around bends, the corners like this. And underneath, a little bit more. I'm going to do this. Can you see that very well? So this is what you're looking at here. So I'm just going along and I'm just cleaning off the last of the residue. I'm going with the grain of the wood, and then I'm going over here and cleaning the last of the residue off the edges. And you can't really see it. You'll see it in a minute when I do the cloth. But I can feel it under here as I go along. So there's a lot of residue on the back still. Put you back down so you can see. There's still quite a bit of residue on this little back board here. So I'm going to give it a good scrub. If you try to stain over residual paint stripper, it's going to look ugly. So it's best to just really get it done in the first place properly. I have a little bit of it here, I think. I'll work that out. Okay. So that's got the thing completely smooth. Now what I want to do is, and you should have open doors for this as well. You just want to wipe it all down really super well. The nice thing about mineral spirits versus washing it down with water is, with water, if you used water on this now to deactivate the mineral spirits, you would have to wait a good couple of hours before you could do anything with it, because water will get into the grain. This is open grain now again, right? It's no longer sealed. And if it gets into the grain, then you have water there getting into the grain, and then you try to seal something over top of it like stain, it's gonna make blotches. It's gonna lift and bubble your stain. I mean, the stain won't even take properly because most stain is oil-based. That you buy in the store anyway. A little bit of stuff ran over the edge, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit. Like I said, like if you go along and you feel like it's really not clean or ready to go, then stop and do it, because there's no point wasting your time cleaning a piece up really nicely and then having gunk, you know, underneath the lip here or something like that. Okay, so I think that's got it. So that is completely sanded. The paint stripper's completely deactivated. And everything is party. Everything is super smooth. So I'm going to let that dry for a minute. That's what it looks like now that the paint stripper's done its job. I'm just going to move this one light up, or I'm actually going to move this back. It's nice that it has wheels. It's handy. Okay, let's move that back. So you can see how beautiful that grain is, and that is a walnut grain. It's got a little scratch here and a couple of little ding marks. Because I'm staining it, I might try to get the scratch out a bit, but the ding marks I'll leave in because I actually kind of like that. I see one little spot right here that has some paint, waxy stuff on it still. So I'm just going to use a little blob. I'm not going to get all dressed up again, but I'm just going to try and take it off here. Should come off fairly quickly. Hopefully, yeah. That was all it took. So there again, taking time to make sure it's perfect is worth it. And put that away. So we're done with the paint stripping on this. That's really all I wanted to do. I just wanted to get it to where we could stain the top today and clean this piece up. And I'll show you a little bit about that as well. There's a lot of you out there that have done this a bazillion times, so I know all this is really boring to you, but if you haven't done it, then this is stuff that you need to learn. Okay, so I have a piece of 220 or 150 grit sandpaper. This is fairly smooth, I guess, but in a minute, I'm going to take my sandpaper and give it one last final sanding, and then we're going to put some stuff on it to condition the wood so that it's ready to receive stain properly. I'm just going to clean this end up a little tiny bit. As you go along, you see more and more bits you need to fix, but that's about it right there. Mineral spirits dries super fast. It's like 5 to 10 minutes maybe. Like I said, water or soapy water takes probably an hour to 2 hours with wood grain to get the water out of the wood grain, and you don't want to do anything with wet wood grain ever. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the cleaning part. I'm going to use the TSP. The TSP is, it just mostly degreases, I guess. I've used it on some pretty greasy bits, and it really cleans it up nicely. So I'm going to roll my little chair over here so I can sit down and do this. So far, it's not too bad for heat in the shop, but I will take the handles off after, but for now I'll leave them on. I'm just going to point this down a little bit, I think. Oopsie. I guess you could probably see it anyway, but there you go. So, these handles here, these little rosebud handles, they have a back plate on them. And this is really common with the older ones. Even some of the newer ones have back plates. So that's what the back plate looks like. And then the handle goes over top, and it's really cute. So we'll clean these up. I might even spray them gold. I think they'd look really pretty gold. I don't know if they're brass. I think these might be kind of like an old pot metal or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, usually I take all the handles off to clean it, but you just spray it. You be very liberal with the spray. Don't be cheap. And you can feel it. It's kind of like a grippy, I don't know what the feeling is. I've tried to explain it before. It's kind of almost a, I guess, grippy feeling that you get when you use this TSP, and you can tell it gets right into the finish. So for here, you can either use a little brush and use the TSP and just brush through there. And in fact, I might do that. Let me just see here where I have a brush I can use. Let's see, so we just go like this. And because I'm painting it, I want to make sure that it's clean enough that I can get in there and really paint it, right? And that is that simple. You just want to make sure you get all the stuff out, clean all the water out, and keep going. So once you've cleaned it, just stuff, if you're painting, you can go ahead and paint within minutes pretty much. If you were to stain it, of course, you just probably use paint stripper and just restain. However, there is another way to do staining, and that is, if I didn't want to use paint stripper like I did on top, what you do is you scuff up your existing finish with 150 or 180, scuff it up just like you would for painting, and then use a gel stain. Because with gel stain, you don't need to have a strip finish. And I use it a lot because of that. It's still a lot of work, scuff sanding, but you're gonna scuff sand anyway for painting, right? So when I take these handles off after, I'll make sure that this is all clean. So it's really fast, but if you don't prep your surface and you get grease, the paint's not gonna stick to it. And believe me, the amount of grease that is on a piece from people's hands, even, you know, if you just moved it from down the street to your shop to work on, the amount of grease is amazing. Everybody's fingers have greasy bits, right? So what happens is the paint resists those areas where the grease is. And because it resists, it won't allow the paint to stick properly, or it might look like it's sticking properly. And then in a couple of days, you've got peeling or non-adherence, or it comes off super easy or something like that. So I'm going to turn this, and we'll do this side. It's pretty fast to do this, but it's absolutely necessary. And as one person said some time ago, and I can't remember who it was, they said, if you fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And that's absolutely true. So here I've dropped a piece of paint stripper, went down the side here. So I'm just going to take my spatula and my TSP, and I'm going to work that out, because it almost is like a gum, and that just loosened it right up again. So I can wipe it off with a piece of paper towel. So that's got that off. Now I'll go over and clean it better. Yeah, you don't want to fail to prepare, honestly. These are a lot of work. And if somebody doesn't believe you that they're a lot of work, invite them to come over and help you. That's one way to show them pretty darn fast that these are a lot of work, but they're fun. Like, I would rather do this. My sister said to me one day, don't you get bored doing these? And I said, no. I said, do you get bored painting? Like, she paints art, right? But I mean, everybody has their interests. Some people, you know, might go mountain biking, and other people might go hiking. And would you say to them, don't you ever get bored? It's just a hobby, or it's something you do for a living. But it's fun, and it's really nice to see a piece kind of come to life so quickly. Now this is really drying out, so we can go ahead and do some wood prep on it in a minute. This has little grooves, so I really want to make sure that the old dust that's been sitting there for years gets cleaned out. You're not going to get stuff like paint off and stuff like that just from cleaning. That's going to come off with your scuff sanding, and if it doesn't come off with that, it's going to get painted over, so you don't have to really worry about it. The legs need cleaning. Okay, so that is washed up. That was not that bad. So I'll show you this top once again, because now it's pretty dry. There's a little bit that isn't, but pretty dry. I'll show you up here again. This is what it looks like dried out. It's almost completely dry. So it looks really nice, I think. Now, I'll show you what we do. So, So because I can feel just the tiniest little bit of paint stripper on here, or not paint stripper, but something, hi Shirley, I could feel a little bit of residue from the paint stripper and I can actually see it. So that is one step, is doing the paint stripper, but it's not the final thing. So what I'm going to do now, because this is dry, is take my 150 grit on a sanding block. So I've just wrapped it around here, and I'm going to just give it one nice sand over. I don't know if you can see that. My tripod's not high enough, I don't think, for this piece. I'm going with the green, and I'm pressing into it fairly, not super hard, but hard enough to get any of this residual jump off of it. And you can see a bit of cloth. You can see how much stuff is coming off of it already just from that little bit there. So look at this. You can actually see it right here too. If I pull you in like that, you can see this. See? So we'll just keep doing that, and we'll keep pulling this little last bit of old varnish and the paint stripper off that we just did. Trying to get it down to a nice even surface. And then when we stain it, it will take the stain evenly for the most part. Sometimes it doesn't exactly. Because like I said, and I'll show you in a minute here because I can see it, these pieces, this would not ever be one solid piece of wood. It's pieces of the same type of wood pieced together to make one larger piece. So when you're staining and sanding, you'll see the divisions where they've pieced it together generally. You can see that. And there's some really nice patina with the old ding marks on here, which I think I'll leave because I really like them. And try and get this ding mark down a little bit. Go over it again. And you just keep going over it until you get to where you absolutely think it's going to be good for staining. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially with gel stain. And I am using a gel stain on this, even though I've gotten it right down to raw wood. I still am going to use a gel stain. Okay, so that's the top. And then I'm going to fold this up like so. And I'm going to go around the sides. And again, I'm just getting this very last bit of old varnish and my paint stripper off. And I just am mostly concerned about smoothing everything out at this point. Making sure there's no blobs of paint stripper anywhere. And then I'm going to go right along the side. Underneath, just like that, just to clean up any paint stripper that might have gotten under there. And you should be wearing a standing mask actually, but I can't talk to you and wear a standing mask. So, put a little bit of standing, I'll it through. Okay, let's go to this side. It's really fun, you know, when you get this so smooth like that. One of the very first things people always do when they come pick up a piece is they go, oh, It's so smooth. And I know they're going to do that. So I'm always super careful that the finished piece is as smooth as you can get it. And it's really not that hard to do. Mostly about prep work, really. Okay, so let's take our brush and scooch this off. That's a lot of dust. Ugh. Okay. So over here I've missed some. I'm gonna keep going. And the reason I'm using a 150 is because it will get right into any residual stuff that's stuck on here. So you could use a 220, although I think a 220 is almost too fine of a grit for staining, because a 220 really makes the surface super smooth. Actually, it leaves a little bit of grit or a little bit of tooth. But for doing this and getting the last of the paint stripper off and smoothing it out, I like 150. You could use 180 as well. It's on wheel. Okay, so there is this dark veneer-y, looks like a veneer spot on the top here. I'll leave that alone. And right at the very back there's something, I don't know what it is. But that's what the variation in wood does too, is it'll leave all these different types of colorings. So now I'm going to wipe this off with a cloth. Okay, so I'm going to use a cloth and just wipe off the last of the dust. Okay. That's the dust. There's quite a lot of residual dust even after you... I see a little bit of a swirl here from my paint stripping job, so I'm going to work that out. I don't want there to be any swirls, any cut marks, anything that could stain the wood stain or the wood grain itself showing through here now. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to get my cheesecloth. Just a second. Cheesecloth is the last step before you use a wood conditioner. And even though I've gone over it with a cloth, my cheesecloth is really dirty, but it's a waxy cloth. Cheesecloth is necessary to get any last little tiny bit of dust off your piece, so that you're not staining over it. When you stain though too, you have to remember that, where did my sandpaper go? When you're staining, you have to remember that the room itself probably has some dust floating around, like you saw me just get the dust off here. And when your stain dries, it's probably going to land right in your stain. But then that's why you give it a little bit of a scuff coat on your second coat, or just before you do your second coat of stain, if you're going to do a second coat. And that pulls the dust out of it again. I call them dust nibs, a lot of people call them dust nibs, but whatever they're called, that pulls it up. So the cheesecloth, now that is perfectly smooth. It's just beautiful. I love it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'll show you what a lot of people use for wood conditioner. Is they use this stuff. It's a Minwax pre-stain wood conditioner. When you have raw wood like this, in order to get the stain to accept evenly across the piece, or fairly evenly. It's going to be a little bit varied because of the grain of the wood, but you need to use some type of a pre-stain. And what the pre-stain does is it soaks down into the open grain, which is, this is all open grain now. It soaks down into the open grain and it seals the wood. So that when you put the stain on and you wipe the stain off, it should be an even color pretty much throughout. I was using this for a long time, and then I started using shellac, and I actually mix my own shellac. I don't have time today to do a video on it, but I will show you how it goes. So this is my this is actually blonde shellac, believe it or not. This is the blonde one. I could thin it down a little bit more with mineral spirits. And if I did that, that would be fine too. But this is mixed up by myself. So this is a little, it's called a fad or a rubber, they call them. And I'm just going to pour a little bit of this onto my cloth. And I'm going to press it in. And shellac is basically, it will do the same thing as that other wood pre-stain, except this is actually a little bit nicer to use. And then you just take it, make sure you've got enough on your fad that it soaks into the wood. And I need a little bit more. So I'm going to pour some more, same way. Just pour a little bit. And that happens if my fad's been stored for a week or so, or 2 weeks. It will need more because it dries out a little bit in the jar. It doesn't dry out too badly though. So this is exactly the same thing as if I did the wood stain that I bought for $15 a can. This is much nicer because it dries super fast. Isn't that pretty wood? Oh, I love it. Gorgeous. So yeah, if I use the Ipswich pine stain that I was talking about earlier and showing you, it's going to basically come out this color, and that's what I wanted. I want it to be this natural wood. Isn't that so much nicer than what was on there though? I mean, this is beautiful. She's gonna love it. This dresser, as I said before, is for a client who has 4 pieces, and she wants it done in raw silk, which is a fusion mineral paint. That's it. And she's going to, oh, isn't that pretty? Wow. So I'm going to leave that for a few minutes. It soaks in very, very quickly. So I don't have to leave it more than, you know, 10 minutes or so before I put my stain on, my first coat of stain. But that compared to that is a huge difference. I mean, look at how beautiful that is compared to how it was stained before. And then this is probably 80 or 90 years old of just, you know, layers and layers and layers of junk on there. Wax and varnish and all kinds of things. So I'm going to try and find, so I'm going to go back and show you my colors again. So let's take a look. This is the color of her bedroom. It's called Frosted Berry. It's a Benjamin Moore color. So we had her bedroom painted this color and with white trim everywhere. So when I was trying to pick a stain color earlier, I felt that this color was too orange. This color was the one I preferred with that. This color I felt was a bit too dark. And this color were definitely getting too dark. So I chose this color. And when I think of it now, I think it's almost a dead match. What do you think? I mean, that's almost the same as what I had chosen. So let's see what it looks like with this Frosted Berry. And I kind of like it. I think it's very soft. So you can see why I didn't want to go to one of these harsher colors. because it's just too harsh. And that's what I was saying about when you're choosing a stain color. If you're staining any part of your piece, think about your wall colors, your furniture, your area rugs, your art, all those sorts of things, and make sure it's something you might really like this color, but it's not going to go so well with that. It just is too harsh. Whereas it goes beautifully with this, right? So we're going to use this color. This is called Ipswich Pine. This color here. Can you see that? Oh, barely see it. Anyway, so let's, that is just beautiful. So I can see already that that shellac is almost completely dried in. So that's how we want it. There's a few little bits that I like. I like the patina of the old nicks. And the rest of this unit is going to be raw silk. It's going to have a beautiful transfer called Lavender Bush. It's beautiful. It's going to have some glazing to the details here. I don't think she'll let me do actual distressing, which I don't really want to do anyway. And I think I'll paint these. If they don't clean up nicely, I'll paint them all gold. And then that should look really pretty together. So, let me get the stain. And I won't hold you much longer. This will be the last little bit for today, and then we're going to log out. Where did I put the stain? Oopsie. Oh, it's right in front of me. That's really smart. So with gel stain, it's super easy to use. Like super, super, super easy to use. But do mix it really well, because a lot of the pigment goes to the very bottom. And this is the color. I'm hoping I've got the right one. It looks like that in the can. It's pretty dark looking, isn't it? But it isn't really that dark. And I'm just going to use my screwdriver to stir it, because it's a little tin and I don't usually do that, but I'm in a hurry. So I hope you guys are learning something from this. If you have any questions, let me know, because there you go. Okay, I'm gonna actually take that off. With this stuff, you just apply it with a rag. So I like to have my blue shop cloth, and I'm just going to fold it up into a little wad like so. Put this on my, clean off my screwdriver, and let's get going here. So what you do is you rub it on. With gel stain, you rub it on. You could paint it on with a brush, but I'm going to rub it on. And then you rub off any excess after. So yeah, I think this is the perfect color. All it's doing is, it's actually the same color as the wood. It's just highlighting the wood a bit more. We'll go underneath a little bit there. And we'll put some more stain on. Let's turn you a little bit. Sometimes when I'm doing staining, I will put it on, and then if I have my Google Home out here, I'll say, okay, Google, remind me, or set timer for 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever, but I'm not going to leave this on very long at all. Just want a really nice walk of it on here so that I can take it off after. It looks really pretty. Let's use a fair amount of gel stain if you're doing it this way, but I guess it's no more than if you were brushing it on, really. It's really pretty. Now, if I really didn't like this, if I got this stain on and I really didn't like the color, I would just stain over it with another color. Or if I wanted to lighten it quite a bit, I would take mineral spirits and take the stain off that I just put on. Mineral spirits will take stain right off. So if it's fresh stain, like if I was doing this and all of a sudden I went, oh no, I really don't like that. And you just do that. Take your mineral spirits and wipe it off. Okay. So that's on there, and I want it off right away. So So I'm going to take another dry cloth. Same thing, I'm going to make it a little bit of a bigger wad. And I'm just going to go one end to the other and wipe it off. And all around the edge. And then one more. Just to tidy up any edges. I might do a second coat, but really honestly, the way this is looking, I actually really like it with just the one. So I might just stop with one coat. And that is step one. That is the stained top in Ipswich Pine compared to that color, which is really awful. I think that's really pretty, and I think with the raw silk and the transfer that we're doing, I think it's going to look really awesome, and I think she's going to be pretty happy with it. So I just wanted to kind of show you today, like, think about your colors. If you're, let me shut this light off for a sec. If your bedroom walls or the room you're putting it in has specific colors, then really think about what stain colors you use before you start staining, if you're doing stain and paint kind of thing. It's hot in here, so I apologize. But I think this piece is going to turn out nice. So this is part one. This is piece one of 4 pieces. We're doing a vanity, 2 dressers, and a bed headboard that matches. So I hope you learned a lot, and if you're watching this later, let me know if you have any questions, and we'll be back maybe tomorrow even. I'm going to try and work on this, getting it primed and painted so that when the rub-on transfer comes later this week, we can just pop it on and get it finished. But do share our videos, and you can see us on YouTube if you go to Flandrens Interiors on YouTube, and share our videos and tell your friends about us if they want to learn about painting or just want to listen to me yak all day long. But I thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys.